All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AP Town Hall meeting for this month, where we talk about various topics related to audio production. Remember, if you miss our live sessions, that you can always pick it up at that link. You can pick up the archive of the recording of it at that link. My name is Kendall Benz. I am course director for Advanced Audio Editing Techniques, and today we have a representative from Focusrite here, Mr. Evan Weiss.
Yeah, excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, what are we talking today?
Yeah, we're going to go over the Scarlett 18i20, which is the largest audio interface in the Scarlett range that Focusrite makes. And we just recently refreshed the Scarlett line of interfaces, so now they're on the 4th generation. And there's a lot of great new features on it. I'm going to show you some tips and some tricks to get the most out of your 18i20 or whatever Scarlett you may have. And a lot of the things that I'm going to show today aren't just for the 4th gen Scarlett. If you have a 3rd gen and even a 2nd gen, you can do a lot of the tips and tricks that I'm going to show today.
Absolutely. Most of our students are very familiar with the unit because that's the unit that they're using. So if I were, let's say I were a student and the only thing I've ever used my 18i20 for was just a headphone amp, what are some cool things I can do with it that I must be missing at this point?
Yeah. So the 18i20 can do a lot more than just act as a headphone amp. There's a lot of inputs and outputs on the 18i20, and that's why you would buy a unit that large, because it's got 8 microphone preamps on it and 10 outputs. And those outputs can be used for a lot of different things. I'll show you some use cases here, but real briefly, the multiple outputs can be used for multiple pairs of speakers. It could be used for surround sound. It could be used for external gear. A lot of applications. So if you have an 18i20, you have a really flexible unit, and you can get a lot out of it. And hopefully you learned something today. And yeah,
I'm hoping so. So where should we start?
Yeah, I guess we'll just, I have a quick slide here so everybody can see what the 18i20 looks like on the 4th gen. And I do have a camera here so I can show the interface in real life. But just for a quick overview, I do want to show you the 18i20 4th gen. So this is what it looks like. You can see that it's been completely redesigned. We have more metering on the front. And we have 8 digitally controlled preamps. So that's new on the 4th gen.
Wow.
All the preamps can be remotely controlled, so you can do it from your computer or your iPhone or your Android. You can control the gain on all the preamps. And 2 new really cool features on the 4th gen Scarletts is auto gain and clip safe. So auto gain, if you hit the auto button, it will listen to the incoming signal and set the gain where it thinks it should be. And then clip safe, if you do end up clipping your signal, it'll turn you down 6 dB, so that way you don't ruin your entire take.
Wow.
Yeah.
Auto gain.
And then on the back, back of the unit, you can see we got the 8 mic pre's, and then you may notice on the front there's 2 other inputs there. Those are actually mirrored images, or they're mirrored preamps. Okay. So on the 3rd gen, for example, you had the 2 inputs on the front, and then you had 6 inputs on the back. So if you wanted to use inputs 1 and 2, you'd have to plug it in the front. But now in the 4th gen, you have the option to plug it in the front or the back. And if you plug something in the front, it overrides the signal on the back, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So just some design changes like that.
Yeah. They defeat the rear connections. I gotcha. One thing I just learned though, the iPad app or the app that you were saying, it makes it more than an interface. If you think about it, it makes it a full-on digital mixer.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm going to show you Focusrite Control 2, which is the new software that you set up your custom mixes and your routings and things like that. We completely revamped Focusrite Control for the 4th gen. And it literally looks like a mixer, and you can do it from your phone. So, for example, if you're a drummer and you sit down at your drum kit and, one of the mics is too quiet or it's too loud, you can change the gain right from your phone, as long as you're on the same Wi-Fi network.
Wow.
It's super handy.
I'd say so.
Yeah. So yeah, let's just get into it. Let me turn on my desktop camera.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. All right. So that is the front of the 18i20, you can see. And we have our 8 mic pre's here. You know, they're labeled 1 through 8.
Yeah.
Another cool feature is we can actually stereo link preamps on the 4th gen. So if you were to press and hold one of these buttons, it'll actually pair the 2 preamps together. So that way when you turn the gain up and down, it turns both preamps up and down the same amount.
Gotcha.
So that's just a quality of life feature.
I have a weird question about the linking, right? You say, I saw that you were holding like number 5. Is it just the odd number, or if I hold 5 and 6, it still just pairs 5 and 6, right?
Yeah, it'll be, so for example, 3 and 4. See, I just hit the link button. Hold it, 3 and 4 light up,
Gotcha.
5 and 6 light up. So it's in pairs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Cool.
Yeah, so I do want to talk about something that's unique to the Scarletts and Focusrite's audio interfaces, and that's this air mode right here. And 3rd gen users also have air mode on their 18i20. What air mode is an emulation of our vintage ISA preamps. They're kind of what Focusrite's DNA has been built on. We still make them today. They started making them in the 80s, still make them today. And air mode is an emulation of what that preamp sounds like. So we'll try it on my voice. You know, I don't know how well it's going to translate over the internet, but let's give it a shot. Because right now, my mic is on input 1. Air mode is off. I'm going to go ahead and turn air mode on and just listen to my voice. You'll hear the high end come out a little bit. Air mode is on. Hey. So this is an emulation of our vintage ISA preamp. Now, 3rd gen Scarlett has air mode. 4th gen Scarlett has air mode. But 4th gen Scarlett actually has 2 different air modes. So this is the ISA emulation. If I were to hit air again, you can see it turns orange. And it's very subtle, but this is harmonic drive. So it's saturating the incoming signal a little bit. So it's overdriving it a little bit. Kind of like overloading an analog like studio console. It's that kind of sound. It's subtle, but it's really, really cool to have 3 different flavors of preamp on one audio interface.
Gotcha.
So that's something that I would recommend doing if you have a lot of different audio sources. Play around with the different colors because it'll make your tracks stand out from each other. You know, you could have air mode on your voice, you could have harmonic drive on, you know, maybe a snare drum, and then you could have a clean mic pre on, you know, a guitar or a bass. So yeah.
So one thing I'm noticing is I could hear a difference as soon as you turned it on. It was a huge difference. But when you went to this new mode here, man, that harmonic drive is really nice. And I hear what you're saying as far as it sounding like you're driving a channel on the console. So that sounds really awesome. I did not know that Focusrite added that to the 18i20.
Yeah. So air mode is on all of our interfaces now, 3rd gen, 4th gen, and Claret as well. But the harmonic drive, which is this mode right now, is new on the 4th gen Scarletts.
Gotcha. And I'm a big fan of the ISA. I have one, the one channel handheld unit. So I'm a huge fan of that preamp. So.
Yeah, they sound great, and you know, there's a reason why we still make them today. They're just it's a classic preamp. Sounds great, and it's called air mode because it kind of brings out the top end a little bit. Kind of makes it airy, you know, quote unquote. So it sounds great on vocals, strings, drum overheads for like the cymbals, anything that you want to bring out the air in.
Absolutely,
it sounds great with air mode.
Yep, made your voice really present.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. I guess I'll keep it on harmonic drive then.
Hey.
Yeah. So let's do some other things here. So on this side of the interface, and you may notice this is it's a long interface, right?
Yes, it is.
It can be rack mounted. On the 4th gen, it comes with rack ears that are removable. They go on the side there. But
I believe it was like that on the 3rd generation as well.
Yeah, they are. They are. There we go. Okay, so on this side of the interface, we have a couple other options here. And these are all on the 3rd gen as well. We have the alternate button. So if I were to have 2 pairs of speakers hooked up to my 18i20, I could hit the alt button and it would toggle between 2 pairs of stereo speakers. And you can set that up in Focusrite control. Dim will turn the volume down. It doesn't mute it, but it turns it down to a very low amount so you can talk over the music. Output will change the output routing. Mute obviously will mute your incoming signal. And then the output knob here, of course, changes the volume of your output. And just to reiterate, all this can now be digitally controlled from your phone, from your Android, what have you. You also may notice new on the 4th gen that, sorry, my HDMI cable keeps jiggling here, my bad. The gain halos on the headphone outputs aren't just solid colors like they are on 3rd gen and 2nd gen. They're actually full meters. So, if I talk really quietly like that, or if I talk really loud, you actually get full metering on the outputs.
Absolutely.
And last but not least, we have the talkback button. This is also on
the Gen 3.
Focus. Well, the button says talk on it, right?
Yeah.
This is on the 3rd gen. There's actually a built-in microphone in the 18i20. And if you were to press and hold this, you can assign that microphone to any of the outputs. So good use case for this is if you have a vocal booth or a person in another room, what have you, and you want to talk to them real quick, you can just hit that, and you don't have to hook up an external mic to do that. It's built into the unit. Super handy to have.
Absolutely. Now, I do have a question as far as the alt button that you have in there.
Sure.
Is it assignable in the software, or is it just set to a specific pair of outputs?
Yeah, it's a great question, and let's take a look. It is assignable, so let's go to Focusrite Control. This is Focusrite Control 2. If you're on a 3rd gen Scarlett, this may look new to you. We updated Focusrite Control to Focusrite Control 2, and the user interface is much more friendly. It's a lot more usable. There are plans to port Focusrite Control 2 to the 3rd gen. I don't have a timeline on that, but right now, as it stands, Focusrite Control 2 is only available on the 4th gen Scarletts. But what I'm going to show you in Focusrite Control still applies for the 2nd gen and the 3rd gen. The interface just looks different.
Gotcha.
So to assign the alternate outputs here, we're going to go to Preferences. Oh, that's for TalkBack. Well, here's where you assign your TalkBack destinations to your different mixes. But the alt switching is in routing. So you can see right here, speaker switching is on, main outputs 1 and 2, alt outputs 3 and 4, and we can change what mix or what digital inputs or analog inputs we want to send to those different outputs.
Absolutely. Okay. Great.
Right. And so, by default, I have my outputs 5 and 6. They're sending digital channels 5 and 6 on the back. But I think it's time to get into how to set up some external effects. Yes. So
That's
The
what I'm
the
interested in.
18i20 is much more than a headphone amp. It's a great headphone amp, right? But you have all these different outputs, so let's put them to use.
Absolutely. Let's
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah, let's do it. So what we've got here, I've got a Novation circuit. So this is a groove box, built-in synthesizer. So I'm just going to use this to play some synth sounds, and I have this routed into my Zen delay, which is a delay pedal here. Now, there's a couple ways you could do this. The easiest way, or the most intuitive way, would be just to hook the tracks directly into the Zen delay, and then hook the Zen delay up to your interface. And you can absolutely do that because there is a dry-wet knob here, but you can get a lot more out of it if you hook the Zen delay or whatever pedal, whatever effects processor you have, if you hook it up to the physical outputs on your interface. And there's a couple different benefits from doing that. So let's get into Ableton Live. I'm an Ableton Live guy. It's the DAW I'm most comfortable with, but every DAW will have a way to do this, to assign external effects. So on this first channel here, I have an external audio effect. So it may be different in Logic or Pro Tools or what have you, but there will be some sort of way to get audio from your DAW into an output into the real world, right? So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on, and we can see, I know it may be kind of, oh, hello. Don't want that. So, here, learning experience.
Yes.
So there's multiple ways to do this. The first way is to have an external audio effect on the channel itself. So that's the synth completely dry. And I have the external effect on this channel. We were getting feedback because I also had it activated on a return channel, and we'll get there in just a second. But right now, we're going to apply the effects directly on there we go. That singular audio channel. So that's one way to do it. And how you would set that up is you have to be conscious of what outputs you have your effect plugged into. So I know that I have my Zen delay on outputs 7 and 8, and I want audio from inputs 9 and 10, which is my circuit, to go through the outputs and then back in to the interface, if that makes sense.
It does.
So essentially, it's taking the audio from the circuit into the DAW, out of the DAW, into the Zen delay, and then back into the interface. So that's one way to do it.
Gotcha. So it's a hardware insert, but everything is happening from one channel?
That's right. Everything is happening on one channel. Now, how I usually set this up is I set it up as a return track, a send and return. So
Gotcha.
These circles here, sorry, let me enlarge that. It says A. This is my send amount. So if I go ahead and activate the delay on a return channel, we're not hearing anything. It's because we have to turn the send up. So why that is beneficial is you can send multiple audio tracks to your effect. It doesn't just have to be the circuit. It can be anything. It can be audio from your computer. So instead of hooking, whatever you want to record directly into the effects pedal, by hooking it up to the audio interface, now anything can access your effects pedal.
Okay.
Any sort of input. So if I were to plug in a guitar, or actually we can do my voice.
And this way you can actually record the delay separately, correct?
Yes, so that's another thing that you can do is because I know that the Zen delay is coming in on audio inputs 9 and 10. I can record my dry signal completely dry, and then my effects signal completely wet at the same time, and then that way I have control over the dry and wet amount after the fact. So that's another really handy way to do that. And if you do, if you're using like an external compressor, you can do parallel compression that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's see. I think check. Hey. Yeah, there we go. So by having that's crazy. By hooking up the effect to the interface, now everything has access to the effect.
Absolutely.
So that's a huge benefit.
Yeah.
That's definitely one of the main reasons you would use these multiple outputs. And on the 18i20, you have 10 outputs. So you can hook up multiple external pieces of gear. You can hook up multiple pairs of monitors. And you may be asking why would you want multiple pairs of monitors? Well, it's always good to test your mix on as many systems as possible. So if you have 2 pairs of speakers, hook them up. You can use that alternate switch and go test your mix between 2 different speakers. Another use case, if you do any sort of surround sound or Atmos, you can use those 10 outputs to hook up a surround sound setup and mix that way. So let me show you another way you can do this directly. So in Focusrite control, I guess first let me break down exactly how I have this mix working for the live stream. We can see at the top, we have mix A, B, C, D, E, and F. Now, this is going to look a little bit different if you have a 2nd gen or a 3rd gen 18i20, but the idea still applies. It's just a different interface, user interface. So mic input 1, I'm hearing myself. Playback 1 and 2 is computer audio. So anything that I hear over Zoom or anything I hear on the computer is coming out of playback 1 and 2. Playback 3 and 4, and this is important, is coming out of the DAW, and I assign that specifically the output here on 3 and 4, not 1 and 2, because what you guys are hearing on your end is mix B. It's a different mix. So you're still hearing my voice here, still hearing the DAW, but I have playback 1 and 2 turned all the way down, and that's to prevent feedback.
So I won't hear myself, right?
That's right. And if I were to turn this up, we would start to get feedback, and it would not be good.
I believe you. You don't have to do it.
Yeah. So that's another huge benefit of having these multiple outputs.
Absolutely.
Because these digital outputs as well can be used as a mixer in Focusrite control. Now, another really cool thing that
but not just one mixer, right? It's like that's like 6 different mixers, right?
Correct? Yeah, that's a good way to think about it, because you have 6 different custom mixes that you can use. So we're doing a live stream right now, but another really common use case for using these multiple mixes here is if you're recording with a band or recording with a buddy, and your friend may want more vocals in his headphones, and you may want more guitar in your headphones. You would set that up with these custom mixes here.
Absolutely.
And it's super easy to choose the output, routed to headphones 2, or main outputs 5 and 6, etc., etc.
Hey, is there any way you can make that window a little bit bigger for us?
Unfortunately, this it doesn't go vertical.
Okay.
Oh,
no,
yes.
yes.
Oh, my bad. Yes. Okay. Apologies. Yes.
No problem. No problem.
Cool.
Yeah. That way, it could, things could be put together with what we were talking about as far as having 6 different mixes, making
Totally.
different headphone mixes and things like that. So
Yeah, my bad, guys.
essentially you can maybe connect a set of outputs to a different headphone amp or something like that, and create another set of headphone mixes.
Right, right. Yeah, let's say, just for, demo's sake, let's say I've got a buddy in the other room, and he's recording vocals. So let's go to mix F. Let's say his headphones are, we're using both headphone mixes here, but let's say, outputs 5 and 6. That's where he's at. So we can give him a little bit of my voice, maybe we give him a lot of his voice, maybe a little bit of guitar, maybe some computer playback there. And it's as simple as that. It's really that simple. It acts like a mixer.
All right. That's cool stuff there.
Yeah. Another really cool trick I want to show you, and this applies to 3rd gen as well. Unfortunately, 2nd gen does not have built-in loopback. But you can do a physical loopback. Essentially, what a loopback is it's taking a signal from an output and then routing it back into itself.
Okay.
So, if you wanted to record what was coming out of your speakers physically, a physical loopback, you would, take a cable from the outputs, run it out the back, and then back into the front. And that way you could record that. Now, with 3rd gen and 2nd gen, or my bad, 3rd gen and 4th gen Scarletts have built-in loopback. It's a built-in loopback channel, and that's my mix C right here. You can see loopback. That's where we're going. So right now, I just have playback 1 and 2 as my loopback channel. But if I wanted to record, my voice or anything like that, you could throw that into the loopback channel as well. Now, let me show you why this is cool. This allows you to record anything on your computer, whether it's YouTube or Spotify or what have you. Now, I can't recommend that you sample copyrighted music. I would never recommend that, but you could, in theory. So let's give it a shot.
Okay.
And I'm not going to play copyrighted music because I don't want YouTube to take us down. But here's how we would set that up. I know my loopback channel is, I believe it's inputs 9 and 10. So, yeah, inputs 9 and 10. I'm going to go ahead, arm, record. Now, one thing to keep in mind, I'm going to play some music here. I'm just going to play some of my own music so we don't get copyright strike. You guys won't be able to hear what I'm hearing because of the feedback loop I was talking about earlier. But I can hear it, and then when I play it back in Ableton, you guys will be able to hear it. So I'm just going to hit record. Turn that off. Okay. Then let's go to, so now we're getting some signal there. And there we go.
Sweet. Directly from Spotify, just like that, eh?
Directly from Spotify. So you can use that trick with YouTube, anything on your computer. Even with, if you do any sort of podcasting or interviews over Zoom, this is a great way to get that audio on a separate channel. So you can multi-track, your voice, your guest's voice, super flexible like that. So loopback is available on 3rd gen and 4th gen Scarletts.
Great. Great.
Yeah. What else have I got for you? There's another thing I should mention on the 18i20 that is a huge benefit.
Okay.
Is the ability. Where's my keynote? Where'd my slides go? Well, on the back of the 18i20 on 2nd gen, 3rd gen, and 4th gen is an ADAT input. It's an optical input. And any interface that has that optical input can be expanded on in the future. So you can add 8 additional channels to your 18i20.
Okay.
So on your 18i20, you have 8 mic pre's. Let's say you want 8 more. You can either purchase what Focusrite calls the Octopre, which is an expansion module, or let's say you have a
Could I
second
use
gen
another 18i20?
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
Exactly. Let's say you have a second gen Scarlett and maybe you want to upgrade to a fourth gen, or maybe you have a competitor's product or something. Anything with ADAT, you can hook up to your 18i20
Great.
and have up to 8 additional inputs.
Gotcha.
So that way you would have 16 inputs on your 18i20. And
Okay.
I should
Evan?
mention that, yes.
I'm sorry. I do want to open it up for some questions that are coming in.
Absolutely.
Based on some of the things you were saying here. So I think some questions are rolling in, and let's see if we can answer some of them.
Let's do it.
We've got a few questions back here. Some of them are just kind of asking to show the interface like you are now, as it was small when you were playing with it earlier.
Okay.
And then a few other things that we're looking at is what is the connection of the 18i20 to the computer, and is there a way to use an external fader or something like that? We're still trying to narrow down what that actually means.
MIDI control, yes.
I think I can understand what that last question a little bit. I guess using something like a MIDI fader, like a fader port or something like that to control, I guess, the control software. But you really wouldn't need it with the app, right?
That's right. Yeah. So we have gotten that question before, and it is a feature that the developers are thinking about right now. The answer is no. There isn't the ability to hook up like a MIDI controller and control the software like that. But you do have the option to use an iPad, iPhone, Android, anything like that. There is MIDI on the 18i20, but that's for musical gear. Right now, there's no way to control the software itself.
Gotcha. You know what? iPad is good enough for me.
Yeah, it gets the job done. To answer the connection question, it's USB-C, but you can obviously use USB-C to A, C to C. You can adapt it.
Okay.
And then the third question, yes, I can make my screen bigger. Apologies before. It is. Hopefully that's better for you guys. So yeah, just quickly what I was showing off earlier. And this will look different depending on what generation of 18i20 you have. This is Focusrite Control 2, which is exclusive right now to the 4th gen Scarletts. 2nd gen Scarlett and 3rd gen Scarlett will have Focusrite Control 1, which looks different than this piece of software here. But the functionality is basically identical. The interface just looks different. And in my opinion, Focusrite Control 2 is much more user-friendly because it looks like a mixer. But the idea behind it is still the same. So we have different mixes here. Mix A, B, C, D, E, F, and depending on what interface you have will determine the amount of custom mixes that you have. And we can see my incoming signal here. This is my mic. Check, check, hey. So I can choose the amount of volume that I want to send through this mix A, which is what we're controlling right here. And we have this routed to my main audio outputs and my headphones 1.
Which I noticed, I do like that it shows you what that particular mix is routed to. That's really cool. We do have, I think we do have another question coming in here.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a viewer who's just curious if this works on the 3rd gen iPad app.
So the 3rd gen iPad, so Focusrite Control 1 and 2 are separate. So Focusrite Control 1 does have an iPad app. It's going to look different than this one, but it does have an iPad app. Right now for Focusrite Control 1, it's iOS only, whereas Focusrite Control 2 is iOS and Android. But it's a separate app. So Focusrite Control 2 is strictly for 4th gen Scarletts. Everything else will fall under Focusrite Control 1.
Awesome. All right, cool. So we have somebody who is asking if they could sample Focusrite 1 control, since that's what they have as students.
You stand.
If they-
I think I understand the question.
I'm reading it verbatim here. So
Okay.
could he sample a Focusrite control 1 since that's what we have?
Okay, I think I understand the question. I think they're asking is whether or not loopback is available in the first or second or even the third generation.
So loopback is available on 3rd generation and 4th generation.
Gotcha.
It's not on 2nd generation, but you can always create a custom mix and do a physical loopback. So how you would do that, you would choose a mix, go choose your outputs that you want your loopback to be in. Oh, I don't have the screen up. My bad. There we go. So yeah, if you have a 2nd gen Scarlett, here's how you do a physical loopback. You would decide what outputs you want to use. Let's use outputs 5 and 6, for example. Physically take line cables out of outputs 5 and 6 and take those cables and then put them into an input on the same interface. Now, when you do that, you have to be very careful not to create a feedback loop. And so you're going to want to make sure your playback 1 and 2 is all the way down. So before you plug it in, get your mix right, how you would want to sample. Or rather, if you want to sample off of YouTube, you would want playback 1 and 2 on, but you would want to assign your DAW to a different output. That's why I have my DAW on 3 and 4. And depending on your DAW, you do it different ways. And Ableton is just a drop-down menu right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. But yeah, you can create a physical loopback in the 2nd gen Scarlett. And actually, I'm probably this is probably just too much information right now. Word salad. But if you Google, we do have an article on it on Focusrite's website. So if you just Google 2nd gen Scarlett loopback, there's an article that'll.
That's
that'll
really
walk you
cool
through
to
the
have
process.
an article to show you how to do it physically. Yeah, we do have another question that just came in.
Sure.
Well, first of all, excuse me, I'm sorry. First of all, this person is doting over your lovely Full Sail shirt as they are an alumni. So, Kendall, that's for you.
Oh, okay.
They're curious if Focusrite will ever introduce a version of the 18i20 that would have AES 50A or Dante.
Wow.
So yeah, we have a whole line of Red and RedNet interfaces. So if you want Dante, you would be looking at Red and RedNet stuff.
And I do remember Focusrite being kind of like some of the first companies to get started with the whole audio over Ethernet thing there. So the Red stuff has been out for a while.
Yeah, it has. And they just released some card for the, I believe for the ISA1. So you can actually, if you have an ISA1, make that Dante compatible now.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a
cool.
bunch of Dante stuff in the Focusrite ecosystem. It's just how Focusrite is tiered. Scarlett is like our entry-level interface, still fantastic. Step above that is Claret, and then a step above that is Red and RedNet.
Gotcha.
And so when you get into the 3rd tier, that's when you start getting Dante.
Gotcha. So, I'm sorry, I'm just blown away that you can add a card to an ISA1. That makes it Dante.
Yeah,
compatible. That's
I
cool.
actually have. So I don't have the card. If you look on the back, so when I was talking about air mode, this is an ISA. This is a vintage preamp. Well, it's not. It's a modern preamp, but it's based on our vintage preamps. So the air mode is emulating what this thing sounds like. But we can see on the back of this ISA1, there's actually a card slot there. And for the longest time, I was wondering, like, what's that for? Well, it's for Dante. So, yeah, you can actually put this on your network now.
That's cool. Really cool
Yeah.
stuff there. I love them giving props to a unit that they've been selling for a long time. So that's really cool to have that.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. I'm pretty sure a lot of our students have gotten a lot of good tips and tricks that they probably didn't even know they could do with their 18i20. That's pretty awesome. That's a lot of stuff there. And that fourth generation, which you didn't really go too deep in, but the auto gain. Can you explain a little bit of that for me a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know, different people have different generations, so I wanted to make sure, what I was showing everybody could do.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm about to show you is exclusive for the 4th gen Scarletts.
Understood.
So let me get my camera going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so channel 1, that's my voice.
Mm-hmm.
That's the microphone right now. I'm going to go ahead and hit the auto button here.
Mm-hmm.
My voice is going to cut out, but I'm still here. But you're going to see a blue circle start to count down, and that means the interface is listening to the input, which is input 1. Mm-hmm. So it's going to listen to my voice, and then it's going to set the gain where it thinks it should be. So let's go ahead and hit auto. Mic check. Hey, mic check, mic check. There we go. So it's a little quiet, and I think it's because I have the AC or the heat blasting right now because it's very cold in Chicago.
Well, that's actually pretty cool that it picked up that AC and got that good signal to noise ratio for you. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and it's really cool because you can do auto gain on all 8 mic pre's at once.
At once, okay.
So we actually tested this out with the drum kit. We had a full drum kit, fully mic'd up, 8 microphones, and we hit auto gain and did the whole drum kit in 10 seconds.
Wow.
And it does a pretty good job. Now you may want to make adjustments here and there, but it gets you in the ballpark, like really, really quickly. If you're a singer-songwriter, you have a guitar and a microphone, you could do your guitar and your microphone at the same time. And then clip safe, if I turn clip safe on, it's going to prevent me from clipping. So I'm going to crank the gain and then purposefully clip the microphone here.
Wow.
So yeah, we can see, we got the clip signal right there, but I'm not clipping anymore because clip safe is on. So every time that I clip, let's see if I can clip it again. You can see on the input, it's turning it down.
Mm-hmm.
So every time it clips, it goes down 6 dB. So it's not a compressor, it's not a limiter, but you can think of it as like a engineer writing a fader.
I gotcha.
And if you start to play too loud, it turns you down. The difference is it's listening to that incoming audio signal at whatever sample rate that you have running. So it's listening for clipping at 44,000 times a second, which is way faster than any human being could ever adjust your gain. So clip safe doesn't prevent it from clipping, but it does it so quickly that it's barely noticeable, and it's a backup. So if you clip, you don't ruin your entire recording session.
Okay. Good stuff there. Good stuff. And I do see that you're using a Shure SM7B there. So that has to say a lot about the gain these current pre's have.
Yeah, that's right. So on the 4th generation Scarletts, the mic pre's have 69 decibels of gain, which is a huge improvement over the 3rd gen. The 3rd gen, if you have a SM7B, you'll still want to buy a cloud lifter. But with the 4th gen Scarletts, you have plenty of juice for a microphone like this.
Yeah. Great sound, great sound. I've always been a fan of Focusrite's preamps especially if I'm looking for an uncolored, very clean sound. I don't find those pre's to be harsh. And it's funny that you characterize the 18i20 as a beginner level, but it doesn't necessarily sound beginner level.
I didn't say beginner level. I said entry
level. There you go. Entry was the word. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because the Scarletts, they're fantastic. They sound great. You can absolutely make hit records on a Scarlett. There's nothing beginner about it. but there's also more expensive options. The way I compare a Scarlett to Claret, which is Claret is our step above, is kind of like an automatic car to a muscle car. You know, on the Scarletts here, you have all the bells and whistles, right? You have clip safe, you have auto gain, you have these different air modes and things like that. Whereas the Claret doesn't have all those bells and whistles. It does have a little bit better performance though. So if that matters to you, then you would opt for the Claret. But for most people, you know, Scarlett is more than enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, we do have another question coming in.
Yeah, this one's about the auto gain. Some people are wondering, does the auto gain affect the signal to noise floor ratio? And how would that affect editing and mixing?
Sure. So when, do you mean clip safe? Or I guess auto gain? Well, the auto gain is just, it's turning up the preamp digitally. Clip safe, there's actually 6 dB of digital headroom built in there. So if you do clip, it's going to turn you down 6 dB. So when you go back to edit that recording, you're going to want to turn it back up, and that will affect your noise floor a little bit. Not the end of the world. You know, it's not worth stressing about. Yeah, so there's 6 dB of digital gain built in to the clip safe.
And I guess to help clarify, it's continually adjusting the gain throughout the it's just when you first set the pre, just to get started, it gets you at a good starting level. It's not riding the gain all the time. So
that's right. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. Yeah, it sets it once. It's not exactly riding the fader essentially.
I don't think I would ever want that, but
yeah.
I mean, why would you want that? That's a compressor, basically. So.
Right. Yeah. Just do that in post.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do it in post.
Absolutely. Getting good. Do we have any other questions?
We're good at this time. Thank you so much.
No problem. No problem. So, along with the new generation of the 18i20, do you guys have any other products that got the upgrade as well?
Yeah, the whole line of Scarletts.
Okay.
So Solo all the way up to the 18i20 are all now on the 4th generation. So clip safe, auto gain, all of that is on the Scarletts. Aside from the Solo, the Solo doesn't have auto gain or clip safe. But the 2i2, 4i4, all of them have the same preamps, the same converter chips, which it's worth mentioning that the 4th gen Scarletts now have the same converter chips that's in our RedNet interfaces, our top-of-the-line interface. That technology has trickled down into Scarlett.
Gotcha.
All the Scarletts are 4th gen are going to sound the same. It's just a matter of how many inputs, how many outputs do you need. In this case, right, we're using some external gear. With the 18i20, you can hook up multiple external pieces of gear like this.
Understood. Now, I have a question that I'm curious about. So you did show the air, right? And the air can be used on a per channel basis. It's clear to me that it's available, you know, in mic mode, but is it available in line? Like for instance, your circuit tracks. Can you turn on the air mode for your circuit track?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. And let's listen to what it sounds like. Get this camera going.
Have you ever tried it?
Very briefly. And I haven't tried it on this setup, so I actually am curious what it sounds like. So let's go. We're on 3 and 4. Let's get this. Okay. So that's this air mode off. Air mode on.
Camera's not
harmonic
in focus here. The camera's not in focus at the moment. Oh, there we go. That's a little better. I can deal with that.
Sorry about that. So harmonic drive on this, you know, let's see. Let's drive this a little louder. Harmonic drive, air mode off, air mode on, harmonic drive.
I can definitely hear it.
Yeah, subtle, but it's there.
Yeah. That's cool. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, so that works on mic, line, and instrument level
Gotcha. Gotcha.
inputs.
Oh, I like options. Oh, I like options.
Worth mentioning, sometimes I get questions about what is the instrument button.
Mm-hmm.
That is for guitars and bass guitars, instruments like that have a very like sort of weak signal.
Yep.
If you plug in a guitar into a line level input, you're going to get some distortion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the instrument button is for.
And some
It doesn't
older
mean
keyboard-
like you know, well, the circuit's sort of an instrument. Should I turn instrument on? No.
No.
Instruments for guitar, bass guitar.
I
things
do
like that.
remember the days of older keyboards. You had to go instrument on them as well, but but we
Yeah.
talk about
Oh,
older
yeah.
keyboards. Wow, good stuff. Are we good on questions?
We are good.
Okay, absolutely. And Evan,
Yeah, I hope everybody learned something. I know I threw a lot at you very quickly.
Yes, you did.
But if you have any questions, our tech support and our help website is actually really good. We have
Gotcha.
some of the best tech support in the business. So many articles that can help you set up what you're trying to set up. And if you have any questions, chat is available 24/7. We have tech support in Hong Kong, London, and LA, so you can get a hold of someone no matter what, and they'll be more than happy to walk you through whatever you're trying to set up.
okay, good job. Yes, I did learn a lot. I will have to say I definitely learned a lot about the 18i20, all the generations at that point. So, hey, I'm going to start implementing as much as I can here. You know, especially that
Yeah,
air. That
awesome.
really got me going there. The air.
Yeah, air mode's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and make sure you hook your effects up to the outputs. I'm telling you, it'll change your life.
Absolutely. You know what? I would have
So,
never thought of doing it that way. And I would imagine you would be able to have the Zen delay return into and have that set up in the Focusrite control as well, right? Instead of using your DAW.
Yes. Yeah, I got sidetracked, but I was going to show you. Super easy. So I know that the Zen delay output, that would probably help if I showed the screen, is on outputs 9 and 10. So I would want to send this mix to 9 and 10. My circuit is on, what is my Scarlett on? 3 and 4? Let's see. And then I need the input, which is, what is my input? There we go. Oh yeah, you guys can't hear that.
Yeah.
Now you can hear that.
Really cool, really cool. Oh, I'm glad you showed us that. That makes a lot of sense for me. And I guess the last thing I just want to ask real quick before we wrap up here, but being that you could actually use it that way and have your return from your external effects come back to one of the mixes in here, could you you can save these settings and use it as a standalone mixer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So in Focusrite Control 1, so if you're using 2nd gen, 3rd gen, they're what we call snapshots. That's essentially a preset. They're called presets in Focusrite Control 2. But you can see I have this preset right here, 18i20 training. But let's say I have a mixing session tonight with someone else. I can, save a new preset. And then that will load onto my interface. And if I turn it off and on again, it's going to still have the last preset that I had loaded on.
Okay.
It's going to have that still on there.
Okay, great. Thanks for that information. Look, I can ask you so many questions, but we do have to wrap up, and maybe we'll do this again another time.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I appreciate you coming through and giving us that great information, and hopefully a lot of our students have learned something from the information you gave us here. But that's all the time we have here today, all right? Thank you, Evan. Thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, thanks for listening to me. Take care, everyone.
All right. So before we get out of here real quick, I want to remind you guys that we have these AP Town Halls on a monthly basis. It's usually that last week of every course month, and make sure you tune in. It's always some good information here. We like to give a big shout out to our show production students in the audio visual technologies course with their course director, John Cost. And I'd like to thank you all for coming through for the town hall.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Hey.